Hi, everyone. This is Rico Figliolini, host of Peachtree Corners Life. This is a Thursday afternoon off a stormy day. We had tornado watches today, but everything sort of calmed down now this afternoon. And we have a special guest here, local author and CNN producer, Mayra Cuevas.
Hi, everyone.
So she has a book I want to talk about, and I want to talk about her life a bit. But before we get into that, I just want to say thank you to a few people and our lead sponsor. So we're here at Atlanta Tech Park in the city of Peachtree Corners. Atlanta Tech Park is right on the road that's Curiosity Lab at Peachtree Corners. It's a place that houses 70 companies, over 15,000 square feet, this podcast studio, of course, and it's a hub for business and tech. And Curiosity Lab itself, the 1.5 mile track that we sit on, is something that the city itself is has put together to run and attract companies here to do experiments and on a live laboratory, if you will, out there, interacting with real traffic, real people, where they can research and use their Internet of Everything, items, apps, plugins to the autonomous vehicles that run on this track and such. So it's a tremendous living lab here that does a lot of impact for the city as far as economic impact. Our lead sponsor is Hargrave Fiber. They're a company based out of Hilton Head in Savannah, Georgia. They are a company that crafts customized solutions for hundreds of businesses in the Southeast. Whether you're a small business looking for bundle services or you're a enterprise level business looking for managed IT services, either voiceover, internet, TV, all that, they can provide a real customized solution for you. They are a local company. They're not like the cable guy. They will show up and they will really do the right things. And I got to say, also with the City of Peachtree Corners, Hargrave Fiber, even though we're sitting on what really is a mobility, wireless, 5G driven track, the backbone of it is still fiber. And Hargrave Fiber is the company that put the fiber here, and they're the backbone of what the city's doing over here. So if you want to find out more information, go to hargravefiber.com. Now we're really getting into the meat of the meeting, if you will. So there's a lot of things I want to talk about. I had seen on Norcross High School that you're going to be doing a discussion there in a few days, I guess, or a few weeks.
Yeah, I'm actually doing several visits to local schools, North Gwinnett High, Norcross High School, and Duluth as well. And I got book talks lined up at different parts of the country, in Tennessee, in New York, and Arkansas.
Really? Wow.
Yeah.
Neat. And who's the publisher of the book?
It's Blank HarperCollins.
Blank HarperCollins.
Yes.
Now, this is a YA novel that you put together called
Salty Bittersweet.
And I've been wanting to ask how that name came about, but what is the story?
So
about?
it was originally called Every Girl Should Have a Blowtorch because it's food is very much at the center of the book.
Yeah.
And my lead character Isa, she loves using a blowtorch to kind of work on her desserts, and then there's a really funny incident with the Isa and the love interest in which they set off the kitchen on fire using wrestling over the blowtorch. But the publisher ultimately decides what the title is going to be, and the marketing team came up with this awesome title, Salty Bittersweet, which I love and everyone loves. And I think it's very appropriate for the book.
Sure, it's all about taste and food and texture and all that. I can imagine the other one's a little bit more edgy that time.
Yes, it was more edgy, yes. But the line stayed in the book.
The line
Yes.
Yeah, I could see her walking around with the little torch.
Yeah.
And, that's cool. So this is your first book, actually, isn't it?
Yeah, so it's my first published book. It's not my first manuscript. I have been working on getting published for about 6 years now, and I have written other manuscripts. I had an agent that actually picked me up and is representing me based on a previous manuscript, but this was the first manuscript that actually went out and sold.
Really? So you got that agent because of the original manuscript, and then he saw the others, or she saw the others?
Yes. So, I mean, this is one of the things that a lot of is not really talked about that much in the publishing process. So many times, new debut authors, you read their stuff and it's like, oh, this is actually really good for a debut author. Well, that's probably not their first manuscript. It's just the first manuscript that sold,
Right.
that found a home in one of the big publishers. In my case, I really wanted to be published in one of the big five. HarperCollins is part of that group. So I was very proud and really happy to make that happen.
So what would you say this was your third, fourth, or fifth manuscript?
This was my third manuscript. Yes,
Third
it was my third manuscript. The first one
Yeah.
was a fantasy novel that will never see the light of day because it was just absolutely awful. But at the time, I thought it was the most amazing thing written since Harry Potter, and it got about 200 rejections.
Wow.
But I kept going.
Okay.
And then
But you finished that book though. That was
I
a
did.
book you finished.
It was my first manuscript, and it
Okay.
taught me a lot about the writing process,
Okay.
and about the publishing industry as well. And then I wrote a second manuscript that was a camp story, and that was the one that my agent decided to represent me on.
Okay.
Yeah, and then Salty Bittersweet, which
So-
finally sold.
So when you did the 200 rejections on the first
Yes.
book, you said, all right, let me set that aside and write a different one.
Yes, you have to move on at
Yeah.
some point, and I think 200 rejections was a good place to move on. You know,
Who knows, might get picked up later.
Yeah.
Now that you're a published author. But so your second book you finished, and then you went on anyway to write your third manuscript that becomes
Yes.
this, right?
So for me, you kind of set goals for yourself as
Yeah.
as a writer, right? And for me, my goal is to put out one manuscript a year. Like I usually, and I have been pretty consistent with this. Like right now, I have another manuscript that will potentially go out on submission to publishers in the next couple of months. It's getting polished by the.
Is this the fourth one then? Or is
No, this is
going
actually
back-
the fifth manuscript that I've written.
Oh wow. Okay.
Yeah, I have the fourth. I'm still working on. It needs some more polishing.
Okay.
Um,
Also YA novel?
yeah, it's also why I love writing for teens and young adults, especially for teen girls, because it's a very important time in their lives. It's a time where they're trying to figure out what they're forming the view of their world, right?
Yeah.
And it's a time of insecurity. It's a time of lots of changes and just difficult things going on in your life, and it's wonderful to have a voice of empowerment in the background of me. Like I'm almost 40. I've been through that stage in my life. I've lived through it. I'm on this other side of it, and I have some perspective now.
Okay.
I can look back and say, you know what, these things that you're struggling with in the grand scheme of things are not that big of a deal. It's
But
going to
you-
be fine.
But you don't say that in the novel necessarily, or have the adults in the novel say it, I guess.
No, because it's like the beauty about writing for young adults is having these amazing characters who are discovering these things for themselves.
Right.
Just they're going on this life journey. Like my character Isa, she's dealing with her grandmother, who is her culinary muse, has just passed away.
Right.
And not only that, but she's also her grandmother's Cuban, so she identifies, she sees herself in her grandmother, her Latina side, right? Her parents have just gotten divorced, and his dad is living with another person, and this is something I went through at that age. My parents went through a very difficult divorce. I relied a lot on my grandparents to to nourish myself emotionally and mentally, and I'm writing from that point of view.
Okay.
Yeah.
Wow. And that was going to be one of my questions as well. How do you come to this with some of the experiences, obviously, with the divorce in your family and stuff, but also, I mean, you're bringing it from from the experience that you have from being a Puerto Rican, maybe Latino, so, and being a woman, so writing from a woman's point of view, obviously. But you are also like mom to two stepsons.
Yes, I have two amazing stepsons. They're they inspired both of them. They want to know which one is the
Yeah, I
one
was
that's on
gonna
the
say,
book.
right,
Yes,
right.
they've asked me multiple times. Is it me? Is it me? And I'm like, well, it's a combination of the
Right.
both of you, and
Right.
it's true. You know, I use them to kind of model the romantic interest in the book because you know they're right there, so it's just
Yes.
so easy.
To use them like that. That is so funny. Are they okay with that?
Yeah, they're fine. They're very supportive of me.
Okay.
They're actually coming for the book event
Oh, okay.
on February 29th.
Well, that's
Yeah.
so funny. I mean, some of the kids might, depending who's there, they might be, are you him?
Diego is the romantic interest, yeah.
That's fun. And, you know, I mean, as I was reading through the school library journal review, and because the book's not out yet, the book's going to be out in March.
Yes,
right?
it's out on March 3rd, but everyone can pre-order, and
Right.
pre-orders are awesome.
Yes, barnesandnoble.com.
Yeah,
Just
or
look
Barnes
up
and
there.
Noble, Amazon, even we have a little shop of stories or Curious Books here
Oh,
in town.
neat,
They're also,
okay.
yes, anywhere where they sell books.
Excellent. So you placed this is actually placed in Europe, even the story.
Yes, so the story takes place, and there's multiple locations on the book. The bulk of the story takes place in Lyon, France, and there's a reason for that.
Mm-hmm.
It's that Lyon, France is actually the gastronomic capital of the world. And here you have a girl who wants to be a chef more than anything. She believes her happiness and the way that she gives herself to others is in food. And to place her at the epicenter of, you know, food in the entire
Yes.
world was just a way to raise the stakes just a little bit more, you know.
Well, not only that, but she goes to a school of this top cook.
Yes.
And the reward is to get your own restaurant, essentially.
You get an apprentice, so you get to learn from one of the at the end of the program that she's in, that she's competing for to a spot in the kitchen of a 3 Michelin starred chef, and he's not only a 3 Michelin starred chef, he's a legend in the high cuisine
You
arts.
have to be, yes.
Yes.
That's funny. So, but now, okay, research. I mean,
Yes.
how do you
Did
get
a lot
there?
of research. Yes.
Are you a good cook too?
I love to cook, and
Okay.
you know, that's one of the reasons why I chose to do a foodie book. You know, is because I love food. In my family and a lot of Latino households, food is a way to connect. It's a way to bring us together. Your background is Italian, so you know, same thing.
3-hour dinners. And
Yes.
we're all good.
But it's a time when we come together,
Mhm.
and it's a time of nourishing. It's a time of love,
Yeah.
and it's also food is a vehicle for memories. You know,
Yeah.
and like a lot of the memories that I have growing up of my grandparents are associated with specific dishes.
Yeah,
You know,
I'm
with
sure.
yeah, it's like I mean I still
Scent
remember
of the
yes
dishes
the
and-
scent,
yeah.
the taste.
Yeah. The
You
sounds
know,
even.
exactly. Yeah, the crackling of,
Yeah.
of fried chicken. You know.
Mhm, mhm.
And also specific moments in time that are associated with a certain type of meal, you know. So for Isa, for the main character, like she is connecting with her grandmother, even though her grandmother has passed away, through the meals she's preparing.
Wow.
And all of these memories are coming together through food, and the love that she wants to give to her family and the world. She wants to give of herself to the world through food.
That's funny. It reminds me of my wife and my mother in a way, because I would remember when she on Sunday morning she would do the sauce, and the first thing that went in all the time was the chopped onions
Yes,
into
the sizzling.
Yes, and you'd hear that, you'd smell it, and those scents would come back to you later.
Yes,
right? In
yes.
life. And of course,
And they're heartfelt.
Yes.
Like you have a physical reaction to the smells, the sounds,
That's
the
right.
taste.
That's
yeah.
right. And on the cook side, because my wife likes to cook too, she'd be like, if she spent an hour, 2 hours cooking, putting together the meal, she actually wouldn't eat after that because she's done. She's put everything into that meal, and that's it. You guys have dinner. I'm good.
That's awesome.
So so it's a different way of seeing that. So, you know, I love YA novels too. My kids, I have 3 kids. They grew up on Harry Potter. They grew up on all the YA novels you can think of that they read through, and of course, you know, Fault in Our Stars. I mean, a whole bunch of them.
Yeah.
And we would sometimes share our recommendations back and forth, and I'm sure that your book would probably be key to my daughter. She
Thank
probably
you.
loved that. I
Thank
bet.
you.
So the writing part. Let's get back to the writing process
Yes.
because that always interests me. How because everyone's different. Every writer says they're different. Some need to do 3 pages a day. Some need to do 4 hours. Then it doesn't matter if they produce nothing. Some people need a quiet. They need to shut the door. They won't open that door until they're done with the manuscript and won't show it to anyone.
Yeah.
So tell me your process, how you go.
So I tend to be very practical with my writing because I don't have a lot of time. I have a full-time job, and I also have other responsibilities. I sit on the board of Kadampa Meditation Center, Georgia, in Inman Park, and sometimes I teach meditation as well. So I have a very busy life. So when I do sit to write, it's got to be a quality writing. So when I have an idea for a new project, I'll come up with an idea. I have a series of questions that I'll ask myself to develop that idea and see if that idea is viable. If the idea can stretch into a whole book. Because writing a novel is not just an artistic thing, a creative thing. It's also a very technical thing. A novel has to have certain parts. It has to hit certain points. Your character needs to go through a journey that is very defined. So for me, when I start, I like to see all that plotted out at first. I'm what they call a plotter, not a pantser.
Yes, I've heard that phrase before.
Yes.
Yes.
So pantsers kind of just start writing,
Right.
and then whatever comes. Yes. My approach is a little bit different. So I try to plot out the whole book at first, and I use that as a guide. Things ultimately change because the characters kind of start telling you where they want to go.
So you do get that feeling with the characters.
100%. They're very much alive and hanging out inside my head.
Okay.
Yes. And then new characters develop. Lala, the grandmother in Salty Bittersweet, she didn't develop until like the third draft of the book. She wasn't in the original story.
Oh, wow. And she seems to be like the
because when she came to me, she came fully formed. But she wasn't there originally, and that happens a lot. There's a lot of characters. Sometimes one of the manuscripts that I'm working on right now, I am struggling with one of the characters and I can't get them together, but other just come fully formed. They just show up, and then you write them and they're perfect from day one.
So you're a plotter, but do you actually create an outline, like chapter by chapter outline?
Yes, and there's a couple reasons why I do that. One is because at the point where I'm at right now, I need to discuss it with my agent. And then the second one is you usually, once you sell the book, there's potential to sell other books on spec. And by contract, that requires plotting chapter by chapter. They need to know what they're buying, pretty much.
Okay. Unless you're doing a trilogy, and even still, you probably have to do that.
Even whatever you sell, the publishers just want to know what they're buying, basically.
So I saw an outline that James Patterson did. His is 1 paragraph per chapter. Is yours similar? You just give a little thing?
Yeah, mine are a little. That's a chapter by chapter outline. That's pretty much it. You just give a synopsis, a short synopsis of what's in every chapter. Yeah.
And that's what you write. So you're sitting down that day, and you're going to write that chapter.
Yes, but again, it's an idea, right? These are just ideas. It's but when you're writing, that's when the creative side comes in, and things just start changing. Sometimes they move in completely different directions that you didn't expect, and your characters just want to do what they want to do, and and so you're taking that outline, but you're being flexible around it. You're not
you're not held to it. Sure.
No, you
can't
gotta
be if they're alive in your head.
Exactly. It's very organic. It's a very organic process. I just like to give it a little push in a certain direction.
Do you ever have to go back a few chapters and say, okay, my character took me here, but I need to adjust or foreshadow. I need to do a few things back here.
So normally I write forward. And what that means is that I will write all the way to the end of the book because I want to know where the characters are taking me and then how the book is going to end. And then I will go back and make changes.
So
I usually
your first
don't
draft
go back.
is all the way through?
Yes, my first draft is always all the way through. Because what I found out is like if you kind of stop and go, you will edit yourself into oblivion, and then you just you just keep going back, and there's no point, because until you get to the end of the story, you just don't know how the story is going to end.
Do you ever write like character profiles, or you do write those down?
Yes, I've done that several times, because especially in young adult, the genre is very character driven. And what that means is like you want very dynamic characters that pop off the page. They're very memorable, that have something to say, so it's nice to develop that with a character sketch to help you kind of pull out some of those very tangible things that you're going to develop throughout the story.
Okay, I have to ask you, so when the characters take over and they start writing this, do they ever like break that profile and say, no, you would never do this. That's not what I wrote.
All the time. Once you go, okay, so let me go back to the example of Isa, because this book,
she sounds like a great character.
She is, but Isa started out as this complete French girl who was leaving New York. I mean, and she has changed. When I started writing her, the idea that I had of her is completely different with what she ended up being, because characters are like real people, and they should be like real people. They're complex individuals. They have their history to them. They speak in their own voice. They're true to life.
The best characters.
Yeah.
Lyon, France. Have you been there?
I've been to several areas in France. I have not been to Lyon. It's on my list of places that I want to go, but I did a lot of research to get it right, and I did have a French consultant look at the book.
Oh, you did? Right, cool.
Yeah, I actually had a consultant for the French aspects of the novel, and also for the culinary aspects of the novel. Chef Carla from Bacchanalia. She is a executive pastry chef, and she served as a consultant in the book. Yeah.
Now, obviously the main character is a girl, and we talk about empowering girls is one of the things you want to be able to do. So tell me a little bit about that. Why is that? Why is that important? I mean, I have a daughter too. I can understand why, but I'd like to hear your words on it.
So one of the themes in the book is about finding success in your own terms. So a lot of times, and I didn't discover this until later in life, but we try to measure our success through the benchmark of that others have set for us, right? So others' idea of our own success.
Right.
And then we realize after a long time that doesn't make us happy, because that's not really what we want. Right. What we want is something else. It's our own journey, right? So Isa needs to go. She thinks that what she wants is to be in this very stressful environment with a male-dominated kitchen, that the entire world says you have reached the peak of your career at where you're at in life, right? Yeah. It's hot take cuisine. You're gonna be training under this culinary legend. And when she gets there, she realized this is not making me happy. I don't, I feel miserable here. Really? Like it's stressful as all hell,
Not what she thought it was.
It's not what she thought she was. But then the struggle becomes, okay, but I've gotten here. Do I want to stay and kind of just suck it up? And that's as adults, we do that many other times,
Right.
We do that at work, we do that in relationships, we do that in many stages of many different places of our lives. So the decision comes whether she's already sacrificed so many aspects of her life to get here, but now that she's gotten here, she realizes she's not happy. So what does she do?
What does she do?
Well, you gotta read the book to find out,
And she has other complications, obviously.
Yes.
Her grandmother passed away.
Yes.
Divorce.
Isa has put everything on the line. Everything on the everything that she is to get to this place.
And a boy comes into her life also
to mess things up, to screw up her plans.
Isn't that usually the case?
So the world is the world is conspiring against her, right?
That's
so, but yeah, I want to empower girls to think about their goals, as something that they can achieve on their own terms, that they can set the bar, they can decide what they want, what does that mean for them, versus relying on other people to set the bar for success.
Sure, which makes sense. I think that's what we all want to be able to be happy with, right? Doing our own things, boy or girl. We talked about a little also diversity in the young adult books. So, you want to speak to that as well?
The topic of diversity is very important for me. I was born and raised in Puerto Rico. I'm a Latina woman. I love romantic comedies. Love romantic comedies. But what I struggle with is seeing myself in a romantic comedy. You know, other than movies with like Jennifer Lopez being the star, it's rare to find a romantic comedy, you know, in film or in books with a Latina main character. So I wanted to give girls, especially Latina girls, an opportunity to see themselves as the lead in their own story, right? They're the lead in their own life.
Sure.
And have a vision for that they can be the main character. Another thing that's always playing in the background in my mind as I'm writing is that only 5% of all kids' books published present a Latina, a Latinx character.
Really?
Yes. Out of those 5%, only 34% are written by Latin writers or illustrators. Meanwhile, in schools, 22% of the kids are Latin. In classrooms in public schools in the U.S. So just the numbers just don't add up. There needs to be more books representing marginalized communities, written by people of color.
So is that promoting, like, I always look at things like that as, you know, I being Italian heritage and coming from New York and Brooklyn and coming south and, you know, tell people my name is Rico, I moved down here in 95, people are like, Rico Lopez? No, Rico Petrocelli, Rico, you know, whatever. It's like, no, just Rico's fine. People are funny that way about diversity when they don't see it. But also, you know, I think we have to, like you are doing, encourage talent to be able to write those books. Because really that's just a lack of talent out there, right? To some degree, maybe.
Well, the publishing industry is 80% white. So, and that is something that has come to the forefront now with this whole debacle with American Dirt. With the novel American Dirt. So it's, you know, if we want to promote more books written by marginalized communities, by people of color, we have to publish more of these books, right? That we need to give everybody a seat at the table, and not only a seat at the table, but give them the same opportunities that white authors are giving in terms of publicity, of promotion, of promoting the books, and all that stuff.
Yeah, that's it.
Atlanta, thankfully, has an incredible young adult, a very diverse young adult community. You know, we have...
Really? I didn't realize that.
Yeah, so, I mean, we have Aisha Saeed, who writes from a Muslim perspective. We have Nick Stone, who writes from the African American perspective. We have Becky Albertalli, who writes from the Jewish perspective. It's incredibly diverse, just, you know, here alone in Atlanta. But we need to do a better job at lifting these voices.
Are there any big, every time I think of publishers, I always think they're in New York for some reason. Any Atlanta big publishers?
So the big 5 publishers who control most of the market are in New York.
Isn't that amazing? I mean, you would think that we would have something big here then, if that was the case. So there's been a journey for you too. I mean, you come from Puerto Rico. When did you move here?
So I moved to Miami when I was 22. I got a scholarship at Florida International University to do a master's in investigative reporting. And after I completed my master's and moved here to Atlanta, I got a job doing investigative reporting for WSB-TV, the NBC affiliate here in Atlanta. And then after a year doing that, I moved to CNN. So I've been with CNN for more than 15 years now.
15 years.
Yeah.
Wow. Yeah, that's cool. I mean, CNN has gone through its things, though. I have a friend that works there, and I think he's been through 3 waves of downsizing or something like that.
It's a great place to work with. My
Yeah.
colleagues are amazing. So yeah,
That's cool.
it's been good to
Yeah.
me.
So journalism is still something you want to do, even if you become successful writing, continued
You know,
success.
if that happens, we'll have
We'll
to revisit the conversation.
Yes, writing. I think anyone that wants to be a writer, they think about, well, that'd be a great living.
It's
doing
not.
that.
It's not.
It's rough. You had five manuscripts.
Yeah, well, I mean, the reality is the writers that hit it big and get 7-figure contracts, they're rare. Most of the writers that I know have jobs, or
they're doing
have
other things.
they do other things to kind of complement their income. Yeah, don't quit your day job.
No, you don't want to do that.
Yeah.
But at least some of them actually do some. I know two sisters that they do a lot of editing and ghostwriting.
Yes.
So at least they're still working their craft to some degree.
Yes. Yeah.
Journalism is the same.
It's the same.
So when you're producing, do you get some? 30% of the time you travel.
I do. So last year I traveled about 30% of the year.
Okay. Anything
and
exciting or places that?
well, I got gas covering protests in Puerto Rico.
Oh.
That was exciting.
Okay.
in my own backyard, I went to get gas by a little these gas canisters. Had to run all over Old San Juan.
Oh man.
But no, most of the work that I'm doing now, there was a time that I did a lot of breaking news, but most of the time that I do now is features, highlighting amazing things that people are doing around the U.S. And
do you ever get to speak to any other authors?
Well, I am surrounded in Atlanta. I'm surrounded by a group of amazing authors and a community of amazing authors. Thankfully, my writing partner Mary Marquardt and I formed this group called Mingle and Margaritas, and we
nice.
meet.
Okay.
Yeah, we meet.
I like that.
It's a writing community, and we meet twice a year to come together and talk about different things that authors and writers are interested about. And also, I belong to a group called Las Musas. It's a Latina authors collective. And there's right now there's between 40 and 50 of us, and these are all authors whose books are coming out in the next couple of years. And we connect with each other, we pitch panels at conferences, and support each other.
Cool. Do you foresee Salty, Bitter, and Sweet becoming maybe a movie or?
I hope so.
That would be nice, right?
Fingers crossed. Now, if there's anybody from Netflix listening to this, just give me a call.
This would actually be a great Netflix movie. I could see this. So that would be cool. Now, you're also doing International Women's Day panel, book signing, and all that.
I'm super excited about that event. It's gonna be so much fun and a great conversation. It's on Sunday, March 8th at 3 p.m. at the Norcross Community Center. And it's going to be moderated by CNN anchor Christy Paul. She's also an amazing women's advocate. Mm-hmm. And then Marie Marquardt, who I just co-wrote a manuscript with her. It's about to go in submission. Yes, it's a nice little feminist. We call it the feminist unicorn. Yeah. So we're gonna be on the panel talking about stories that empower girls and women.
Right. Do you like the co-writing? Is that different? How do you
So that was so much fun. So Marie and I have been working together for about 6 years. We started off as critique partners. Uh-huh. So, we were talking about my writing process. Marie and I exchange chapters of the stuff we've written, and she critiques my chapters and I critique hers.
Okay.
Right? So we've been doing this for a while, and then finally we've been talking about writing a book together, but it hadn't worked on timing. She was on the contract. I was working on my stuff, and finally we found this opening where she wasn't on the contract, and I had just sold my book, and we could work on something together. So yeah, we basically. I'm writing the Latina one character from the Latina character's perspective, one chapter, and then she's writing another chapter from the white girl's perspective.
Huh.
So
All right, so you are splitting that up chapter
we
by
are,
chapter.
yes, we split up the book chapter by chapter. Yes.
That's neat.
You would think it was less work, but it's not.
No, yeah, I mean, you're picking it up. It's almost like a
Yeah.
writing prompt in a way. You're picking it up from the last chapter.
Yeah.
And what if your character takes it a different way?
Well, that's where plotting comes in. We actually sat down and plotted the whole
Okay,
book
because
before
that
we
would be
started.
tough, right? What if
Yeah.
you all of a sudden said, sorry, at the end of my chapter, this is where she's at?
But see, it's interesting because even with this process, we had characters come out like they just showed up, and we just had to go with it because it's like this
And
character
you two
showed
were
up.
okay with that?
Oh yeah, because you understand this. That's
Yeah.
how the process works, right?
It's amazing. People, I'm sure people listen to this and like, they just pop up in your mind. How does that work?
Yeah.
But so she was like a beta reader for you. Do you do beta? Did you have
Yes,
beta
I do.
readers?
I actually have a lot of beta readers.
So beta readers are people that would read your book before it's published, like
Yes.
in manuscript.
Give
form.
you insight,
Mhm.
and then they kind of let you know what's working, what's not working,
Yeah.
what you need to fix. On top of beta readers, before Salty Bittersweet came out, we also had the publisher hired a sensitivity reader. So somebody to come in and say, hey, this could be seen as problematic, you need to work on this, fix that kind of thing.
Okay.
Mhm.
So beta readers, your family, friends, or
No, I try not to use my family or friends as beta readers because they sometimes tend not to be very objective. This is great. I'm like, and I don't want to. Yeah, and I don't. I want to hear. I want to know what doesn't work.
Sure,
I need to
sure.
fix what doesn't work.
Sure.
So I usually use other authors and writers.
Okay.
Yeah.
That's fun. I was reading something about the author that wrote The Martian.
Oh, okay.
And his beta readers were all online. And I think it was for 2 years or a year. They were just feeding himself, and they were all like techie geek guys that were correcting all his Martian stuff. And he was like, if it wasn't for that.
Yeah, and you have to be open as a writer. You have to be open to criticism because that's how you get better.
Yeah.
That's how you improve.
So that didn't hurt if you heard.
No, the 200 rejections hurt.
That hurt.
That hurt.
I still can't believe it went 200 times.
My husband will attest. There were a couple of instances that I just started crying, and he's like, "You cannot cry every time you get a rejection."
But now you didn't send them one at a time. Did you bulk send some of them at least?
Yeah, I did. I bulk send some, and I kept a spreadsheet with
Did you really?
every single one.
Did they actually respond? Did they include people that didn't respond, or they all responded but with rejection?
No,
letters?
so what happens when you're trying to find an agent is there's a couple ways to go. So sometimes you can meet people at a conference and you can pitch your work in a conference, and they'll tell you if they want to read more or not.
Okay.
And other times you do what's called a cold query. So the agent says, hey, I'm open for queries and this is what I'm looking for.
Okay.
And then if your manuscript fits that description, then you send them an email saying, hey, I got this, like, are you interested?
Right.
And sometimes they just respond with a form letter. Sometimes they request your stuff if they think it's good and they liked it. And other times you never hear back.
Did you ever get a rejection letter where they actually gave you some advice that was meaningful? Probably not.
Well, let me see. It was interesting when they actually requested to see the manuscript because it felt that I was close.
Yes.
That was like, okay, so they are interested in the story, and they want to see what I have to say. So that was very encouraging. Okay. And I ultimately knew that whoever was gonna end up being my agent, she was just gonna like it from day one, and she was gonna be excited about the book and me from day one, and that's exactly how it happened.
Did that book change a little bit through the editing process? I mean, did it have any major changes or?
Yes, I mean, all books change. Like it's like when you are writing to be published, and if you're serious about the craft of writing, you have to be open to edits, because books. For example, the book that I'm working on right now, we are on our 4th round of edits. Wow. This is after the polished draft, so it's gone to our agents back and forth 3 or 4 times. And every time the book becomes stronger. And then now when the book goes to a publisher and it gets acquired by a publisher, there's going to be, again, numerous rounds of edits. Okay. So by the time Salty Bittersweet was ready to go to press, I think it had been edited probably between 30 and 40 times.
Wow.
Yeah. I had like read through it, made changes that many times.
Yeah. So what would you say to a young person that wants to write, they're in high school, you're going to be at Norcross High School at some point.
Yeah.
What would you say to them if they said, I write these profiles all the time, I haven't really sat down to write? What would you say to them that they should do to get it done, to get the first book done, regardless, good or bad, but just to finish it? Because the writing process is really, it's not a book until you finish it.
Yeah,
right?
you keep writing.
Yeah.
Writing is one of those things that you learn by doing it. You're not going to learn writing by sitting in a classroom. You learn writing by actually sitting down, writing, getting your work critiqued, and going back and editing. And then when you have gotten to that point with that particular manuscript that I cannot do anything else with this, then you move on and you write something else, and you bring everything that you learned from that first manuscript into the second one, and so on and so forth.
It's not surprising. It's amazing to me. I mean, Stephen King even, I think he wrote about 4 or 5 manuscripts before Carrie got published.
Yes.
And then I think The Stand was one of those. But these writers, it's I envy you guys. I'd love to do that, but it's just like it's a struggle. I mean, to get it done.
It is and it's not. I love writing. I cannot imagine my life without writing. I mean, it just gives me such a joy and a sense of purpose, and I love telling stories. For me, something very meaningful. And the way we grow as humans and as civilizations is with our stories, by the stories that we pass on to one another. So story is incredibly important in communities and in humanity as a whole. Also, fiction specifically has so many benefits. It makes it. The main one, it just makes you happy, it makes you happy to read good fiction.
Yeah, it makes you laugh, sometimes even cry.
Yes, it does. And it gives you empathy. It builds studies have shown that it builds empathy with one another. And with our communities are so polarized right now that I think that is so important, that we learn to see the world from somebody else's point of view that, we may not always have access to.
Different perspective.
Yes.
Diversity also brings sometimes clarity to problems.
Yes.
So that is good. We've been speaking to Mayra Cuevas, who's written her first published book, but not the first book in her repertoire. And Salty Bittersweet is going to be coming out
It's going to be coming out March 3rd. We have a pre-release event that everybody's welcome. Invited to come. It's going to be at the Decatur Library Amphitheater on Saturday, February 29th at 5 p.m.
And they can find more information about you or follow you on what? On where?
You can follow, the best place to go is my website. It's MayraCuevas.com.
All right, cool. Thank you. I appreciate you
coming on. Thank you so much. It's been great to be here.
Thank you. Cool. Thank you. Bye, guys.